Hola, soy Lorena Izquierdo, codirectora de la plataforma artística Diàleg Obert.
Hola, soy Mari Montoya, performer y codirector de la plataforma artística Diàleg Obert.
Performer, poeta y vocalista, esas son mis prácticas artísticas. Y desde la teoría investigo en filosofía, historia del arte y bellas artes. Vivo entre las ciudades de Berlín y Valencia. Activa en las dos de ellas como organizadora, curadora y artista.
Diàleg Obert es una plataforma que apuesta por la investigación, difusión y producción de la performance art a partir de su intermediación con otras disciplinas. Bajo estos conceptos desarrollamos diferentes actividades, como son, por ejemplo, la Bienal de Arte de Acción sobre la Resistencia, que es un encuentro nacional que reúne tanto organizadores como artistas de la performance en España, así como los diferentes ciclos de investigación intermedia que se llevan a cabo en la ciudad de Berlín, como son Dissidents o Atmosphere, así como los futuros Acción y Formación Lab que se instauran en este 2021 en la programación de la Mutant, la Sala de Artes Vivas. En cuanto a la producción, tenemos nuestro proyecto más longevo, cumplimos 5 años en Formate, que es nuestro proyecto de formación y especialización internacional en artes intermedias, que se aloja en el Teatro Musical, así como las diferentes residencias internacionales dedicadas al arte de acción y la investigación de la performance art. Dentro de estos proyectos también se encuentra la coproducción de Fair Corps, que es el encuentro europeo dedicado a las pedagogías del cuerpo, así como ESCUCHA Valencia, que es el proyecto que aquí nos atañe y del que os vamos a hablar un poco más.
ESCUCHA Valencia es el encuentro internacional de artes efímeras y experimentación sonora de la ciudad de Valencia. Con este proyecto hemos colaborado en diferentes espacios, ya sean institucionales, no institucionales, espacios públicos, espacios privados, como galerías, salas, museos. Escucha como la escucha atenta a las novedades que vienen de otras ciudades con más trayectoria en la investigación sonora, como por ejemplo Berlín. Escucha como la escucha necesaria que tiene que tener la audiencia para terminar la obra de arte. Creemos que los artistas no son los responsables de terminar ninguna obra de arte, sino que tiene que ser el espectador mediante la escucha. Escucha como la necesaria para crear algo intermedia. Intermedia como mixtura entre dos códigos artísticos con la intención de crear uno nuevo.
Es el tercer encuentro que hacemos en el Centro del Carme de ESCUCHA Valencia, el penúltimo de las sesiones que clausuraremos con una pequeña exposición en el mes de junio. Y bueno, en estas secciones principalmente lo que nos focalizamos es la intersección entre diferentes disciplinas artísticas. Participamos investigadores de la plataforma artística Diàleg Obert, yo soy Mari Montoya, Lorena Izquierdo y Kira Pérez, y en esta ocasión participamos junto a la chelista alemana Heli Winkel. La sesión tendrá una duración aproximada de unos 35-45 minutos. Va a ser basada en una pequeña improvisación en la que vamos a mezclar códigos sonoros, códigos corporales, plásticos, etc. Y poco más. Disfruten.
Situaciones es un proyecto dentro de ESCUCHA Valencia para el Centro del Carme. Situación es un intento de crear un espacio de arte viva donde intervienen dos disciplinas artísticas, en este caso la música experimental y la performance art. Para crear estas situaciones hemos tenido como una partitura gráfica, como un esquema básico, pero hemos dejado mucho espacio para la improvisación.
Hola, mi nombre es Kira Pérez, soy performer y investigadora en la plataforma Diàleg Obert.
Diàleg Obert lleva trabajando con esta mistura de experimentación sonora y performance art durante estos últimos años.
Situaciones es como un laboratorio de creación instantáneo, una suerte de encuentro entre investigadores de la performance y la música experimental. Situaciones nos da la posibilidad de generar desde la colectividad y la improvisación una serie de piezas únicas donde los nodos se van conformando conforme va pasando la pieza, ¿no? Va ocurriendo cosas, vamos decidiendo, vamos dejando que decidan por nosotros y todo va conformándose de manera aleatoria. Se va conformando según la simbiosis del grupo, ¿no? O sea que la pieza se genera a partir de micropropuestas que surgen de la propia escucha de los cuerpos. Entonces lo que pasa no ocurre intrínsecamente de mí o del resto del colectivo, sino que de repente estamos todos compartiendo esa responsabilidad, no solo entre los que estamos haciendo, sino el espacio, el público, son parte de esta especie de unidad que se genera y donde verdaderamente no sabemos desde dónde nace la acción, desde dónde nace el gesto, ¿no?
Hello, my name is Samuel Hall. I'm a Berlin-based electroacoustic musician, focusing on percussion and preparations and electronic manipulation of sound, both analog and digital. I'm going to talk today about my experience with a performance at the Centre del Carme in Valencia. I just want to speak about my experience there with performing in an interdisciplinary context with performance artists. And so I'd like to highlight one of my experiences, or just the general experience of being in the space, in the museum. And like to say that we felt very welcome and free to explore our ideas. We were given the opportunity to perform in one of the bigger spaces inside the museum, which had a very long, rich reverb. So you could make a sound and it would just fill the space very quickly. So this was a very good experience, and the people at the museum were very accommodating to our needs. So we were able to present our expression, our idea, very clearly and with minimal interference.
Hi, I'm Helene Winkler and I play the cello. I'm based in Berlin and I was in Valencia in February to participate in this project. At the Centre de Calm Contemporary Culture, I felt very comfortable because it was a crazy nice place. I thought that this contrast between old architecture and modern art was so refreshing. To have art forms of different times together in one thing, in one museum. And I thought the highlight for me in this place was the inner backyard, what was like an oasis to make reflection, to find inspiration and find calmness. And yes, also the people who worked there were very friendly to me. And I like the atmosphere of this place a lot.
Hello, my name is Axel Dörner and I'm a trumpet player and composer from Berlin. I enjoyed very much the work at the museum. First, we took a lot of time to find the right space, and the museum was very helpful in supporting us, giving the time to look for a room which is suitable for our performance.
So I'd like to talk a bit about the process of the performance. I myself am very interested in interdisciplinary actions, so music mixing with dance or performance art or spoken word or visual art. It's something that I'm very interested in investigating the relationships, the differences, the similarities, and so the idea of collaborating for this performance was very much in this feeling of what will happen, the mystery, the sort of the unknown. What is going to happen is not predetermined, and how are we going to deal with the interacting forms? And I think the result was very interesting and very true to a dialogue that was created out of mutual respect between each artist's approach and each artist's medium, like what they do to express themselves.
The collaboration between the performance art and improvised music was very special for me, but at the same time it felt also very natural. Like, I think that performance art and improvised music are both a really intense form of expression, which fit really good together and support each other. And yes, it was a lot of input to watch this performance of 3 people doing something different, or sometimes also something together, but everybody in his own way. And to watch this happening, get the input and transform it to noise was really interesting and nice for me. And also for the performance to have the noise and maybe get some ideas out of the noise, what to perform. Yes, it was a big opportunity to react on each other, in what we were doing, and so I liked the collaboration a lot.
I think performance art and music belong together. Every piece of music is a performance and also a piece of theater, basically, where every performance also has musical aspects. And I think in our time it's necessary to combine all these different elements to emphasize the different parts of the system we are part of.
So on the point of collectivism or collective work, for me it is very important. It's something that I do all of the time, interacting with other musicians, other artists, dancers, visual artists. It is something that is an integral part of my artistic process. And so collective work is something that I'm very interested in pursuing, the details, the intricacies. What are people thinking? How are they approaching working with others? How can we be our strong individual selves but work together to create a unified work? And so this was a very good opportunity to explore those ideas, and I'm personally grateful for the museum to give us this opportunity.
Well, the collective work was very fun for me. Like, there was a process before the performance where we searched for ideas, where we searched for solutions to make everybody satisfied, and I think it was a good process. It was also a little bit exhausting because you put a lot of energy inside, but at the same time it's coming a lot of energy out again because you grow so much together doing this work that in the end you are one organism who presents the art they want to present. And it was also nice to meet these great people and artists with who I want to collaborate in future again as well. So it was not just a short-term thing, just to find connections, new connections, to get friends with people, and it was a very big benefit for myself, and I hope also for the others. Yes.
Collective work has a social aspect which is fundamental to human life, and we human beings are social elements. For that reason we feel enjoyment working together in a non-hierarchical way. And for me as an artist it's also interesting to have the performance and then afterwards communication with the audience, and this is actually part of the piece and the collective work. So the audience is included in the collective work at the very end.
If I could talk about a specific moment during the piece that sort of shows what I'm talking about, I would say that the beginning of the piece, which led into the overall structure, was a very important moment for me. It's what makes me remember the whole experience. And so in the beginning of the piece, we decided that it would be nice to have the music or the sound separate from the movement and the performance art aspect of the piece. So I was very much away from everybody, even the audience. You couldn't see me. I was the space we were in was very big, with lots of small rooms. Like I said, very big reverb. So I would make a sound and it would reverberate through the space. And so I was away, hidden from the people, making very specific sounds that would fill the big space that we were in. And these sounds would travel through from the back of the space, through the audience, and to the opposite end of the space we were in, where the performance artists were. And so we had this distance, this sort of separation between the two groups. And as the piece progressed, the sound and the performance would mix, and we would become closer and closer. And because the space was so big, it had this feeling of things really pushing against each other and then meeting in the middle to create a sort of nucleus, a collective that would then expand their connected ideas out. So this was a very special moment for me as a performer, to have this very clear movement from either end to combine in the middle and then recreate something together from a central point of view. So as a collaborative experience, it was very special. As a spatial experience, it was very special because of the sound. Even the footsteps on the ground would be like this, very big. And so everyone was responsible for sound, not just me, not just the musician, and also I was responsible for performative aspects. So we were crossing over in this way. So it was a very good opportunity to explore the possibilities of interdisciplinary art.
In the performance, I felt that many moments were very powerful and special, but there was one moment that stayed in my mind a lot, and this is the moment where the three performers went in the back of the room and performed with wood sticks and shadows on the wall. And this moment seemed to be really animalistic for me. Like, I thought it's a really animalistic picture, but at the same time it was very peaceful. And I tried to support this impression with my noises, and I think that in this moment it was not just the visual aesthetic what was crazy nice, it was also the message what was given. I think I saw the message that the human being is not the biggest, I don't know, in this moment the performers were transforming to animals, and you could see how close animals and humans are, like how close humans are to nature, and how everything is, even if it's unique, everybody is unique, every living being is unique, but in the end it's all one. And you can transform to the other things, you can really connect with this. So I think this message I liked a lot. So
Hello, I'm Karina Harhortina, I'm a trumpet player, I live in Berlin, and in December last year, in December 2019, I was performing in Valencia together with Axel Dörner and the three performers, Lorena Izquierdo, Mario Montoya and Kira Perez. My experience in Situations was incredibly inspiring, I must say. We had a very good experience playing in the museum space. We took a long time to search for the right room. There were quite a few choices where we could perform. and each space had its very distinct characteristics. So in the end, we decided for one smaller room where I think it worked very well, sound-wise and space-wise. I would say that the performance art and improvised music can work extremely well together. The most important thing is that the people that are participating in the performance are really sensitive to sound and movement, and that was definitely the case in our performance. So that means that people are really listening, looking and paying attention to what's happening between the five of us. And that made it very easy to work together as a collective, because everyone was very, very sensitive. And there was an understanding what we want to do. Maybe not expressed in words, but intuitively everybody knew where we were going. I think the one moment that comes to my mind from the performance itself that was really inspiring was when I found myself lying on the floor and not playing the trumpet anymore, but eating some salad that was used earlier in the performance by Lorena, which means when you are on stage with performers, as a musician, you cannot just stand there and play as if that was only about music. The whole thing is about movement, the way things look, and sound. That means that we have to step out of our usual roles of just the musician, which is anyway always very good to be aware that once you're on stage, it's not only about sound, it's about how you look and how you move. We have to all participate in a very deep way, so that I became not just a musician, but obviously also a performer. The other way around, for performers, they were very clear and aware of the sound they were making, or we were making together, and clearly reacting to any small changes, which is high level of improvisation, is when you realize everything you do is noticed and taken into account, and the other people are not necessarily reacting, but you know that they are aware of what you've done. That basically means people are listening and working together and looking at each other. I think that all that I just described makes it obvious that working together in their interdisciplinary context and in the venues like museums and cultural institutions helps the exchange between artists, and out of this exchange everybody comes out, I could say, enriched and with deeper understanding of the work we are doing.
I find it important that a museum is connected to different forms of art where the parameter of time is fundamental. And in a piece of improvised music or performance, the parameter of time is different to most pieces of art which are exhibited in a museum, where you can, there's an exhibition and you can come and look at the pieces of art which are exhibited. But performance or improvised music, you have to be there in the moment it starts, and when it ends. And this is usually only 1 hour, or there's also longer performance possible, but you have to witness the piece of art in the moment it's happening. And this is a huge difference to pieces of art which are usually exhibited in a museum. So for that reason, I think if pieces of performance and improvised music are exhibited or being performed in a museum, it brings the museum itself closer to life in what we call reality.
On the topic of the role of museums and cultural spaces, I think these places have a very unique position. They have a position of power that they need to choose how to use this power. It's not very often that we see a very contemporary, interdisciplinary performance in a museum space. It's not very often that music is presented in a museum space in a sort of modern sense. And what I think is that the museum has a dual responsibility. It has a responsibility to present the history of art for people to experience, and this is very important. But the other responsibility is to be a window into the now, because art doesn't exist outside of the society. And if we only focus on what has happened in the past, we are not reflecting on our society now. And the now is very important because it's what is happening. And interdisciplinary art, or improvisation especially, in any art form, and extended technique and investigating different possibilities is a big part of what's happening now. And so I think that it is the responsibility of the museum or the cultural space to be aware of what is happening now, and not finding out about these things in 20 or 30 years and then doing a retrospective. It's their responsibility to be as active in the presentation of art as the artists are in the creation of art. And fortunately, the Centre del Carme gave us the opportunity to present something that was happening now, that was a risk. And it's a very special situation. But I do think that institutions, museums, cultural spaces, galleries need to take a moment and take the responsibility to be more aware of now, because now is now, and it's very important.
I think it's ultra important that cultural spaces are opening for this kind of events and projects, because as an artist you need spaces to make your art. Like you need space to move, you need space to produce sounds, you need a good surrounding for this, because all this inputs what are coming from outside are also influencing you in what you are doing in the moment, and especially in art performance and improvised music, it's about what comes in the moment out of you. So I think cultural spaces are the perfect spots to do this, because you have this great architecture around you. You have the paintings, you have the modern art around you. You have interested people who are coming, and all this is creating a genius feeling for producing art, like for letting the art coming out of you. And yeah, so I think it's very important that they open for this kind of things.